pretty high with hers. Mine is a lot more talking, I guess. So it kind of starts out with just this kind of simple question, which is just pop a pill even though there's no question mark. There's stuff to be learned from it. And it can be looked at a bunch of different ways. So throughout it, there's just different questions. No one has like a right or wrong answer, but each one is up for kind of debate or talk. So does every issue require a pill? This is the one that I feel not many people talk about in this kind of day and age. This right here is my papa, my dad. So my dad used to be, he's 6'6". He used to weigh 380 pounds, just like this huge, huge guy. Had serious knee issues, had serious problems with his heart. He was the only one of his brothers that hasn't had some kind of heart surgery yet. And so that kind of led him to go on and change his lifestyle choices. Instead of a lot of my uncles who have taken either pills to help their heart or that, but haven't really changed anything in their lives. My dad went on, this is him at his 8th half marathon that he ran last year. He started running last year. He has now lost 150 pounds. He is around 250 pounds, which is close to what he was in high school. And he's now healthier than he's been in the past 15 years. So this is the one that not many people talk about, which is changing your lifestyle if you have an issue. There was a variety of studies done on just the effects that exercise has when, say, you pull a muscle, or if you have like extreme back pain. The biggest one was back pain. And they found that if you exercise regularly and you do stretches and everything like that, that your back will actually improve significantly over the long term. The only downside with this is, for some people, it can be very debilitating and just hard to get started. It's the one that takes the longest time and takes the most effort, but in the end can be one of the most beneficial. The next one is, can you pop a pill without taking a pill? And like it says, this sounds stupid. How can you take a pill without taking a pill, really? And what this kind of goes towards is the placebo. The placebo effect is this natural phenomenon that works in our brains, which is really interesting. Basically, they found that with a placebo, which is a fake pill, you can still get the effects of a real pill without any of the downsides of it actually hurting your liver if you take too much, and you can't really overdose on them because they're sugar pills. There was 2 great examples. The first is just kind of, it works the best in your brain. So things like depression and anxiety and stuff like that, it works really, really well because it's your brain telling your brain that it's okay, which is a big issue in depression and things like that, where your brain tells you you're not okay and leads to issues. They found that kids who took a placebo, it helped them in a very short term, which shows promise for kids who may be very depressed. They can actually take a placebo when they're told it's a real fast-acting antidepressant, which leads them to the ability to just be happy for long enough to actually get on medication. They said that was the strongest form of a placebo in depression. The other one was for people who suffer from just naturally small illnesses. So when you get sick, you can actually take a placebo and trick yourself into feeling better. You get the same effect as taking an actual drug without many of the downsides of the drug. They do say if you have a very strong connection with placebo pills, that you can actually feel the negative effects too. So that is one kind of downside to it, where you can feel all the positive effects without taking a drug, but you can also take something, think it's gonna mess you up, and it really can mess you up. The next one is, when is popping a pill necessary? There's a big debate around this one, and I went a different direction than most people would. Instead of talking about opioids and the importance of them and for people with serious pain, there's actually a few cases where taking a pill can be super beneficial to people. One of these that I learned was with women who have ovarian cysts, and in their ovaries you can grow cysts, which there's not many options depending on what happens to you. If it's cancerous, you can either have surgery, which can be kind of dangerous, and just surgery in general is more dangerous. Or you can actually take birth control, which I had never really known before. If you take birth control, it actually controls the cyst and can help people feel more comfortable in that, and usually cysts can go away within 3 months. But if there's nothing to take other than you can either have surgery or kind of endure through the pain and take painkillers, if you take birth control, it actually helps subside the pain and helps them go away and prevents it from being in the future. And a study was done that showed women who take birth control, not even for like not getting pregnant and that, but it actually decreases your risk of ovarian cancer by 40%. And then this one was the one I was really interested in, which was, can illegal drugs be used in strange ways instead of the mainstream opioids and everything like that? The two biggest examples I have were medical marijuana and psilocybin and LSD. I can't say the name for LSD. It's like lysergic acid. Is the full name. But both of these drugs are right now in the United States a class 1 drug, which means there is no medical benefit seen by the US government, and if you get caught with it, it is life in prison basically. Now with medical marijuana, which is the first one, it's been legalized in some states and the government isn't really cracking down on it. There is pros and cons though with medical marijuana. There is definitely pros for people who have pain, anxiety, and a lot of other things, especially with people who have cancer. It can help them feel a lot better, but there's also a lot of cons, which not a lot of people think about. I think that's the biggest thing with medical marijuana. You're either super for it or super against it, but you can be kind of in the middle. There are cons. They say that it can mess up your cognitive function when you're young, and if you use it a lot, it can mess it up even when you're older. And also smoking in anything other than our like 70% nitrogen and 30% oxygen and all that in the air, anything in your lungs other than that can damage them. Doesn't matter, there was a study done that shows that medical marijuana doesn't cause lung disease, but it still isn't good to be in your lungs when you're smoking it. That's the other thing with medical marijuana, you can ingest it in other ways. This one was the most interesting to me, which was psilocybin and LSD. If you are caught with psilocybin or LSD, you will serve life in prison, which to me is insane because they have other things on there on the national drug list where a Schedule 4 drug, which is like your Tylenol and that kind of stuff, there are some harder drugs on there. I think cocaine is a substance too, which means it has medical benefit and you can actually use it. But these are like substance ones. The craziest thing with these was that LSD and acid for very serious cases can actually change people's lives. If someone has extreme chronic PTSD, they cannot function in the world, or extreme depression and nothing is helping them. It's an issue in their brain. And with these two drugs, which they just started testing on again in 2011, they found that when you take it in a controlled environment, those who have these issues where usually the only way to fix it is to have serious therapy for it, you can actually change your mindset completely. You can change who you are as a person and kind of revert back to who you once were, or when you were a happier person, or before you had PTSD in a controlled environment. I think the important thing kind of about all of this, there's a lot of different options, and that's kind of the point of this, is there's no right or wrong solution. If people take opioids, then that's what they do. But there are other options that we as human beings need to look at. We're not just a one-step take-all, you can do this, like a weight loss drug, or you need a pill for this, or you need a pill for that. Because that's often the option of that first statement, is just pop a pill. If you need energy, you can take a caffeine pill. If you have pain, you can take a pill and it'll subside. But there are a lot of different options. We, as human beings, are complex machines that require very complex solutions. And each one of us is different and unique in very, very special ways. And each of us will act differently depending on what we get. And I guess thanks for